The message came at 3 a.m., nestled in a stream of static so subtle it could have been mistaken for background noise. For decades, Earth had been listening, hoping, but no one thought the stars would ever whisper back. And yet, in that quiet hour, they did. Dash! Eliza Morales had been half asleep in the observatory lounge when the alert flashed on her tablet. She squinted at the screen, the blur of numbers and waveforms swimming before her eyes. A tremor of disbelief fluttered in her chest. This can't be real. She slid off the couch, her slippers scuffing against the cold tile floor. With shaking hands, she tapped the playback button. The signal played through her earbuds, a series of tones, pauses, and rhythms, deliberate, intentional. Not the chaotic dance of a pulsar or the random hum of cosmic radiation. Eliza's breath caught. She ran to the control room, her mind racing. She patched the signal through the speakers. The room filled with a strange, melodic cadence, like a cosmic heartbeat. Her colleague, Amir, burst in, bleary-eyed and disheveled. "What's going on?" Eliza turned, her face pale. "We've got a signal. A real one." Amir's expression shifted from irritation to shock. He staggered closer, eyes fixed on the data scrolling across the monitors. "It's repeating," he whispered. "This isn't noise. It's communication." A chill ran down Eliza's spine. For all the years she'd spent searching for proof that humans weren't alone, the enormity of the moment threatened to crush her. "Contact mission protocol," she said, trying to steady her voice. "We need to verify." "Triple check." Amir nodded, already tapping commands into the console. The observatory's systems ran verification algorithms, cross-referencing the signal against known cosmic sources. After what felt like hours, but was only minutes, the final result blinked onto the screen. No terrestrial or natural origin detected. Probability of intelligent source a 99.9%. Eliza felt tears prick her eyes. They weren't alone. The universe had just opened its door a crack, and someone was standing on the other side. "What do we do now?" Amir asked, his voice hushed. Eliza looked at the blinking waveform on the screen. It was still repeating, still waiting. "We answer." The room felt both impossibly small and infinitely vast. Eliza's fingers hovered over the keyboard, the weight of the cosmos pressing down on her shoulders. How did one reply to a voice from the stars? What words could possibly be enough? "We need something simple," Amir said, breaking the silence. "Something that says we hear them." Eliza nodded, her mind spinning through possibilities. A greeting, a mathematical sequence, music. But in the end, the simplest choice felt right. She typed a sequence of prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, proof of intelligence, a shared understanding that transcended language. She hesitated for a heartbeat longer, then pressed C and D. The signal was encoded, compressed, and fired into the void, riding on beams of radio waves aimed at the source of the alien message. The moment the transmission left Earth, a surreal calm settled over the room. There was no going back now. Amir let out a shaky breath. "No, we wait." Eliza leaned back, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing. How long would it take? Days. Years. Light-speed communication wasn't instantaneous across the vastness of space. What if they never heard back? "Do you think they'll understand it?" Amir asked quietly. "If they're sending out messages, they're listening too," Eliza said. "They reached out first. Maybe they want this as much as we do." Time became a strange, elastic thing. Minutes stretched into hours. Coffee cups multiplied on the control room table, their contents growing colder with each passing moment. The world outside the observatory began to wake up, unaware that humanity's reality had shifted. Just as the sun began to rise, a new alert pinged. Eliza's heart stopped. "Is that?" Amir's eyes were wide. It's them. The signal was back, stronger this time. The same rhythmic pulses, but with a new pattern woven in. Eliza's hands flew across the keyboard, decoding the message. The screen filled with data, symbols aligning into meaning. Her breath caught. The message was simple. Elegant. We hear you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The universe had just spoken back. "Do you understand us?" Amir whispered. Eliza's eyes welled with tears. The silence of the stars had been broken, replaced by a fragile, tentative connection. Two civilizations reaching across the darkness, saying the same thing: you are not alone. The control room was quiet except for the hum of electronics and the whisper of their own breathing. The message still glowed on the screen, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. "We hear you." Eliza and Amir stared at it, the enormity of the moment sinking in. This wasn't just a conversation. It was the first thread of a fragile bridge between two worlds. The possibility of so much more hung in the air, a shimmering thread of potential. Amir was the first to break the silence. "What do we say now?" Eliza swallowed, her mouth dry. What did they say? The first exchange had been simple, foundational. Now came the hard part, moving beyond that first acknowledgement into actual communication. "We need to show them who we are," she said, her voice firm. "We need to send more than just numbers." She glanced at the world map on the screen, where the observatory sat like a tiny, insignificant dot. But that dot was part of something vast and complex. Humanity, with all its messiness, beauty, and contradictions. "What if they're expecting something profound?" Amir asked. "What if they're disappointed?" Eliza shook her head. Thea reached out. "They want to know. We just have to be honest." Her fingers danced over the keyboard as she prepared the next message. Images of Earth, its oceans, forests, and cities. The sound of laughter. The rush of wind through trees, the rhythm of a heartbeat. Fragments of music, from a simple melody to a sweeping orchestral piece. A kaleidoscope of human experience. Imperfect but authentic. "Ready?" she asked. Amir nodded, his eyes serious. "Let's show them who we are." With a deep breath, Eliza pressed C and D. The data packet streamed into the void, a tiny spark carrying the essence of a world. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The sun rose higher, casting golden light through the window, but neither of them moved. They were tethered to that signal, suspended between hope and fear. Then the console beeped again. Another message. It unfolded slowly, a series of strange symbols. But amidst the alien script, something clear emerged. A pattern, a response. Amir's eyes widened. They sent images back. The screen filled with alien landscapes, towering crystal formations under twin suns, cities suspended in the sky like floating islands, and forests that glowed softly in the dark. And then, the most startling image of all. A group of beings standing together. Their forms were different, elongated and delicate, with eyes that seemed impossibly deep. One of them raised a hand in a gesture that was unmistakably familiar. A wave. Eliza's heart pounded. They're trying to connect. Just like us. A fragile bridge, growing stronger with each exchange. Two worlds learning to trust each other, one message at a time. The stars were no longer silent. They were listening, and now they were speaking too. The weight of the moment hung heavy between Eliza and Amir as they stared at the screen, the alien figures frozen in time. The image of the wave felt like an invitation, a call to share more, to reach further into the unknown. But what more could they offer? What could they say that wouldn't feel like a desperate grasp at a connection they weren't sure they deserved? Eliza felt her pulse quicken, the implications of the moment spiraling outward like ripples in a pond. These were not just beings from another planet. Another star system. They were a civilization with a depth that they could only begin to comprehend. How had they found them? Why had they chosen now to reach out? "They're waiting for us," Amir said, his voice low. Eliza nodded, but she didn't speak. Words felt inadequate. The message, the images, they were so much more than anything she could offer. They were speaking, yes, but they were also listening. She could feel it in her bones. This wasn't just a one-way conversation, it was a true exchange, an act of mutual curiosity and respect. "I think we're all alone in the universe," Amir continued, his eyes fixed on the alien faces, his tone almost reverent. "And somehow, after all this time, they've found us. Not by accident, but by choice. Maybe we're not as small as we think." Eliza met his gaze, her mind still reeling. "They're not just reaching out to us, Amir. They're reaching out to us, to humanity. We're not just a speck on some tiny planet. They see something in us." The room fell into a quiet that felt almost sacred. The rest of the world could go on unaware, but for Eliza and Amir, this was a moment that would change everything. They weren't just scientists or researchers anymore. They were witnesses to history, the first humans to receive a message from the stars, a message that carried with it the weight of potential, of understanding, and of connection. And then, as if to break the spell, the console beeped again. Eliza's breath caught. "Thee sent more?" she whispered. Amir moved quickly to the screen, his hands hovering over the controls. The new message was larger than the last, a complex arrangement of symbols that flashed on the screen like the pulse of distant stars. Eliza took a deep breath, steeling herself. The question wasn't just what the message was. It was how to decode it. What language was it written in? Was it something they could even comprehend? "I think we have to trust our instincts," she said quietly. "If they're reaching out like this, maybe it's not about understanding every symbol. Maybe it's about the feeling behind the message." Amir raised an eyebrow but didn't question her. He'd always admired her ability to see things from a different perspective, to find patterns where others saw chaos. Together, they started translating the symbols. It wasn't perfect, but there was a rhythm to it, something that felt instinctual. And as they worked, Eliza felt a sense of calm wash over her. The vastness of the universe, the weight of their new reality, wasn't something to fear. It was something to embrace. Hours passed. The sun dipped low in the sky as the two of them worked together, building the bridge between Earth and the stars. Slowly, piece by piece, the message came together. Finally, Eliza let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. The message wasn't perfect, but it was clear. "We are not alone. We are waiting for you." The words weren't just an invitation, they were a promise. A promise that this wasn't just the beginning of communication, but the beginning of something greater. Something shared. The stars were no longer distant. They had reached out, and humanity had responded. They had found each other, and now they would begin to build something that no one had ever dreamed possible. The world outside the observatory window had changed without changing at all. Earth still spun on its axis, the same as it always had, but in Eliza's mind, everything was different. The air felt charged now, heavy with the anticipation of something profound that had yet to unfold. Amir was pacing back and forth, clearly restless. "They're waiting for us, Eliza. We're not ready for this. We don't even know who or what they are. We've only just begun understanding their language. We have to be careful." Eliza understood the concern in his voice. There were millions of unanswered questions, uncertainties in every direction. But something deeper called to her. A feeling that this was the beginning of humanity's next great chapter, one that couldn't be postponed out of fear. She turned to face him, determination hardening her expression. Amir, we've been given an opportunity. This is what we've always dreamed of, right? To know the unknown. To reach beyond our tiny corner of the universe. I know, Amir muttered, his gaze flicking to the console again. But this is bigger than us, Eliza. It's not just a scientific breakthrough. It's... I know, she interrupted, her voice calm but firm. And that's why we can't hesitate. We've been given the chance to not just answer the question of whether we're alone, but to step into a future we can't even imagine yet. And it's not just us anymore. It's all of humanity. We can't let fear stop us from moving forward. Amir finally stopped pacing, and his eyes softened as he looked at her. You're right. Eliza turned back to the screen. The stars had felt so distant before, unreachable and silent. Now, they were a promise. The message was clear. They had already seen us, and they wanted to know us. They were waiting for them to respond, to take that first step into the unknown. It was a moment Eliza would never forget. Do you think we'll be ready? Amir asked quietly. We are ready, Eliza replied, without a hint of doubt. We just need to take that first step. With a deep breath, she sent a reply. Humanity is ready to join the conversation. We hear you, and we are here. The message was simple, but the weight of it was immense. She had no idea what their next steps would be, but they were no longer alone in the universe. And that alone made everything worth it. The screen flickered, and then the symbols began to shift, forming new shapes and patterns. The alien message was once again appearing in front of them. But this time, Eliza wasn't just watching. She was participating, replying to a civilization whose face she could not yet see. They were communicating. Hours later, when the reply arrived, it was brief, but its significance could not be overstated. Comb, we await your arrival. The stars seemed a little closer now, a little more familiar. The days that followed were a blur of activity. It wasn't just Eliza and Amir anymore. The entire world now knew. The message had been broadcast across every network, every channel, every possible medium. Humanity's first direct contact with an alien civilization had been made. The pressure was unbearable at times. World leaders were involved. Military forces were mobilized, and diplomatic teams were formed. There were endless meetings, debates, and logistics to work out. But through all of it, Eliza remained focused. The message had been clear. It was time to step into the unknown. And humanity was ready. The first task was to decide how to respond. The message wasn't just an invitation. It was a call to action. There were risks involved, of course. No one knew what the aliens truly wanted, or what would happen once they arrived. But there was something undeniable in the call, a sense that this was what they were meant for. The Federation is ready, said a voice over the comms, breaking Eliza's focus as she stared out of the observatory window at the star-filled sky. The ships have been prepared. The diplomatic team is on standby. She glanced at Amir, who was sitting across the room, his brow furrowed in thought. It's happening, she said softly. He didn't reply immediately, but his expression softened. You were right, you know. We've always wondered what else is out there. Now, we finally have the chance to find out. But I can't help but feel a little afraid. What if we aren't ready for this? Eliza turned to him and smiled. It wasn't a reassuring smile. It was one of shared understanding. We've never been ready for anything like this. But that doesn't mean we're not capable. If we don't take this step, we'll never know what's possible. Amir met her gaze, a quiet resolve forming in his eyes. You're right. We'll face this together. Humanity will face it together. The Federation ships, sleek and powerful, began their journey. They were headed to the coordinates the aliens had provided, to a place far beyond any human had ever traveled. There were whispers of old myths, of ancient civilizations, of gods and monsters in the stars. But this wasn't myth. This was reality. The first ship to make the jump was the Orion, a massive vessel equipped with the latest technology designed for deep space travel. Its crew included Eliza, Amir, and the brightest minds from every corner of the Earth. But there was no certainty in this journey, no guarantees. It was a step into a future where anything was possible, and yet nothing was assured. As the countdown to launch began, Eliza found herself standing on the bridge, staring out at the vastness of space. The stars twinkled like far-off promises. She thought back to that first message, that simple phrase, "Come. We await your arrival." She had no idea what awaited them on the other side. But for the first time in her life, she felt truly alive, truly part of something greater than herself. Amir walked up beside her, his face tense, but his eyes filled with the same quiet anticipation. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded. "As ready as we'll ever be." The ship hummed as it prepared to make the jump. The crew was silent, but their collective excitement was palpable. The time had come. The moment they'd been waiting for had arrived. With a final, deep breath, Eliza pressed the button that would send them beyond the familiar reaches of Earth and into the depths of the unknown. And as the ship began to shift, as the stars outside bent and twisted, she couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. Whatever it was, humanity was no longer a solitary species in the vast expanse of space. They were part of something larger now, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Orion hurtled through the fabric of space, its sleek hull cutting through the void at unimaginable speeds. The crew had settled into a steady rhythm, as much as anyone could on a journey that would last months. Every hour was filled with work, with preparations, with anticipation. But as the destination neared, the weight of it all started to sink in. The message had been received. They were approaching the alien world that had beckoned them. What would it look like? Would the beings be anything like what they had imagined? What would the first meeting feel like? Eliza stood at the observation window, watching as the stars outside began to stretch into streaks of light. The moment of arrival was imminent. Every fiber of her being was alive with anticipation and uncertainty. "You are right?" Amir asked, stepping up beside her. She nodded, though she felt anything but sure. Just thinking. "It's hard to believe it's actually happening." "Yeah?" Amir agreed. "It still doesn't feel real. But we've come this far, haven't we?" Elisa smiled, though the nervousness in her chest didn't quite ease. "I suppose we have." The ship's captain, a seasoned officer named Captain Rivera, appeared behind them, her voice calm but firm. "We'll be entering the alien system shortly. Prepare yourselves. We'll make contact within the hour." Everyone aboard the Orion had prepared for this moment for so long, but now that it was here, the uncertainty and fear crept in. No one knew exactly what awaited them on the other side. They could be walking into a peaceful exchange, or an encounter that changed the course of human history forever. The Orion emerged from the warp jump into the alien star system. The star before them was unlike any the crew had ever seen. It glowed with a deep violet hue, casting an eerie light on the planets that orbited it. They were not alone in this system. Several other ships floated nearby, their alien designs both foreign and mesmerizing. "We're here," Captain Rivera's voice came through the comms, but the crew was already gathered, waiting for the moment of truth. Eliza's heart raced as the alien ships approached. The peaceful moment she had hoped for seemed so far out of reach now. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she had to remain focused. The next few hours would define the future of humanity. A strange symbol began to appear on the Orient screen, a complex geometric shape, glowing and shifting. It was the alien species' way of communicating, or at least, the way they had communicated in their previous message. Eliza watched as the screen showed the incoming transmission. The alien symbols began to shift and align, forming words that she had studied relentlessly in the days leading up to this moment. The message was simple, but its meaning was profound. We are here. Welcome, humanity. Come to us. Let us speak. Captain Rivera nodded to the communications officer. Send a response. We're ready. With a quiet hum, Eliza's voice echoed through the communication system. We are here, ready to meet you. There was a brief pause. An eternity in the cold, silent depths of space. And then the stars around them seemed to shimmer, as if the very fabric of reality itself was bending to the will of something greater. The alien ships began to move, aligning themselves in a formation that felt deliberate and purposeful. It was clear that this was not just a meeting between two ships. It was the beginning of something far more monumental. The Orion slowly began to approach the alien vessels. The crew's collective breath held in anticipation. Through the viewports, Eliza could see the alien ships more clearly now. They were beautiful in their own right, their surfaces shifting in color, reflecting the light of the distant star. They weren't just machines. They were living, breathing entities, as alien to them as could be imagined. And then, as they neared, a bright light erupted from the center of the alien formation, blinding the crew for a moment. When the light faded, a figure appeared on the main screen. It wasn't just an image. It was a being. A creature unlike anything they had ever seen before. Tall, with shimmering skin that seemed to glow with an inner light. Its eyes were an intense shade of violet, and its form was at once both alien and almost familiar, as if something deep in humanity's subconscious recognized it. The creature spoke, its voice coming through the speakers like a soft hum, vibrating in their very bones. We have waited for you, humans. Now, let us begin. The moment the alien's voice filled the Orion's comm system, it felt as if the entire universe had paused. The crew stood still, as if time itself had stopped to allow them to process what was happening. The moment of first contact. The dream of every human scientist, explorer, and diplomat had arrived. Eliza watched the screen, trying to take in the full scope of what they were seeing. The alien being was magnificent. Its presence somehow both otherworldly and deeply familiar. It wasn't just its appearance that was striking. It was the weight of the message they had just received. This was a being of an immense intelligence, one who seemed to carry knowledge beyond the collective understanding of all the species that had come together in the Galactic Federation. As the alien spoke, it wasn't simply communicating information, it was offering an invitation, a promise of something greater. We have waited for your arrival. The creature continued, its voice resonating with a strange harmony. Your kind, humans, are unlike any others we have encountered. Your potential, your curiosity, your capacity for innovation. They are unique among the stars. You are ready to take your place among the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Eliza felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. They were just a small, young species in the vast, untamed galaxy. How could they possibly be worthy of such praise? She exchanged a glance with Captain Rivera, who seemed equally awestruck, yet grounded in her calm professionalism. We have observed your species for many cycles. The alien continued. We saw your first steps beyond your homeworld. We saw the challenges you overcame. And we knew that your species, though young, would one day be ready to join us. The Federation is not just a collection of species. It is a collective of ideas, of cultures, of solutions. And you, humans, have proven to us that you are ready to contribute. The message was clear. The alien civilization, the one that had seemed so distant, so unimaginable just days ago, was now extending its hand to humanity. It was an invitation to join the collective, to work together, to share knowledge, and to move toward a future of limitless possibilities. And yet, Elisa couldn't help but wonder, what did this mean for humanity? What responsibilities would come with this opportunity? What price would they pay for such knowledge and power? The alien, sensing her internal conflict, continued, "We do not offer this lightly. We do not ask for blind submission. We ask for partnership, for cooperation, for a shared vision of the future. There is much to learn, and there is much we can offer, but only if we walk together." Oh, the silence that followed felt heavier than any of the weight of the words that had been spoken. Elisa's mind raced. This was everything humanity had worked for, everything they had hoped for. But the enormity of it, of what this could mean for Earth and the rest of humanity, felt almost too much to bear. After what felt like an eternity, Captain Rivera stepped forward, her voice steady and authoritative. "We accept your offer. We too believe in partnership and cooperation. We are ready to walk this path with you." The alien's eyes, which had once seemed so enigmatic, softened slightly. "It is good that you understand. We will begin with knowledge exchange. Your first steps into the greater galaxy. You have the potential to bring something new to the Federation. But first, you must understand the challenges ahead." The alien paused, as if weighing something important. "There are threats in the galaxy, forces that would seek to undermine the unity we have built. But together, we are stronger. With your kind, we believe we can overcome these obstacles." Elisa stood straighter, feeling the weight of what had just been decided. It wasn't just an exchange of knowledge. It was an alliance that would shape the course of history, the beginning of humanity's place in the stars. "We are ready," she said, her voice resolute. The alien nodded. "Then, let us begin. Welcome to the Federation, Humangar." The transmission cut off, leaving the crew aboard the Orion in stunned silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Everyone was simply absorbing the gravity of the moment. The first chapter in humanity's galactic journey, and the beginning of a new era. As the Orion began to drift toward the alien ship, the crew members exchanged looks. They had done it. Against all odds, against every fear, they had made contact. And now, the future of humanity would be written among the stars. Elisa watched out the viewport as the alien ships slowly closed in. The horizon before them wasn't just a view of a distant world, it was the promise of everything humanity could become. The unknown, once so vast and terrifying, had now become an unfolding horizon of endless possibilities.